Hi, everybody. It's Jessica and Dave here with the Andersons, and today we're excited to talk to you about how to prepare yourself going into planting season to really manage your early season nutrients. So I'm Jessica. I'm with the Andersons agronomy team for about 2 years now, and I'm based out of Ohio. I'm joined by Dave Dyson.
Hi, I'm Dave Dyson, and I've been with the Andersons for almost 20 years with their agronomy team. And as Jess said, early season nutrients are very important to set the stage up for a great finish with the year.
Yeah, so looking at those early season nutrients, really the needs of your crop. So going back to basics, you need that nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. And how are we going to very effectively deliver those nutrients in usable form to the crop? And the answer to that is a starter fertilizer.
I'm glad you said usable form because there are a multitude of different forms you can put out there. Some just sit in the soil and have to break down and take a long time, especially with the heat, moisture, and microbials in the soil to actually be available to the crop. And I think that's where we kind of set ourselves apart. We offer a lot of high orthophosphate products that are readily available to the crop.
A lot of starter fertilizers, they might be high in phosphorus, but they're also high in that polyphosphate. And that polyphosphate takes time to break down, and it's not ready for the crop when the crop needs it. Versus in the Andersons Pure Grade product line, in our starter fertilizers, they're high in that orthophosphate, which is very different from that polyphosphate because it's immediately available to that crop. So even in those cold and wet soils, when we're planting earlier and earlier, it takes time for that polyphosphate to break down versus that orthophosphate. It's immediately available in those adverse conditions, ready for the crop to take it up.
Yeah, we can see a definite faster response the higher the orthophosphorus numbers are in your starter. So if you have your typical 1034O versus a higher orthophosphorus, then it can take off and come out of that ground so much faster. And that's really money in the bank. A lot of people don't realize that because that's number one in my what starters should be doing.
And you also outline, and you do a really good job of this, so I'm going to ask you to do that, is the goals of a starter fertilizer.
Yeah. So a lot of people, they are always looking at what is a starter fertilizer doing for me. And I say there's three main goals that need to be achieved by starter fertilizer. First one is immediate or a very fast emergence. We can increase emergence by a few days by using a starter fertilizer, especially a high phosphorus fertilizer that's readily available to the crop. And that just gets it out of the ground, gets it out of the insect zone, gets it out of the fungal zone that's in the soil, and it gets it out of the ground, and you can increase your emergent population by doing that very easily. Number two, which is very important, is pollination. We can increase pollination by 7 to 10 days. That will actually, it doesn't seem like a lot here sitting, in an office, but when you're out in the field and your crop is pollinating 10 days before somebody else's crop because you've used starter, you can pick up a few extra rains, and that will help with pollination and filling out that cob.
We had some excellent results last year with our starter fertilizer, and I know you took some amazing pictures, but a field literally split in half where there was starter and where there wasn't starter. And where there was, the entire field had the tassels out and was ready to go. Where it didn't have starter, it was still in the vegetative stages.
Yeah, and that sets you back because 7-10 days, and it kind of keeps multiplying as the year progresses, and here we go into reason 3 why we need starter is the quicker dry down and faster maturity of that grain. We can see 2 to 3 points drier in the fall. And so that grain's faster available to get out of the field, which will help with, this year we had some major windstorms that came in and blew down some crops that weren't quite ready to get out yet. Last year, the same thing. And if we can get that crop out drier, that's money in the bank.
And you also, if you have a drier crop, you don't face those penalties at the elevator if it's too wet, and you don't have those drying costs involved. And this is all taken care of if you apply that starter fertilizer going into the field right at planting time.
Now, if we hit all three of those goals, 9 out of 10 years, we'll have an increase in yield. Sometimes we don't have an increase in yield because of the pollination situation. It might be dry, it might be wet, but 9 out of 10 years, you're going to have an increase in yield.
So looking at all of those benefits, I also want to take a look at the 4Rs, because that is it's very heavy on our plates right now and very heavy on our minds. The Andersons is based out of Maumee, Ohio, so we're directly in that Lake Erie watershed. And the 4Rs are very near and dear to our hearts. And so even out west where it's not as much of a hot button issue, we still want to make sure all of our starters and all of our fertilizers comply with those 4R concepts. That way we're very good stewards of our land and stewards of our lakes.
Yeah, so the 4Rs, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jess, are the right place, the right rate, the right time, and the right source.
So looking first at the right place, as you said, our starter fertilizers, they're very safe. So when you have them, you can put them right in the seed, right near the seed in the furrow without any concern of damage to your seed, damage to emergence.
Yeah, and that closer placement, that falls right into the next one that allows us to actually reduce the rate of our starters and have the same effectiveness by only applying 5 gallon to the acre, which creates less environmental impact.
And that's because it's right in that root zone.
Mm-hmm.
So by putting those nutrients right where the crop needs it, then you don't have to over apply your nutrients because we're putting it right where the crop needs. Also, looking at the right time, because we're putting it right at planting.
Right in the furrow. And so, yeah, by using the right rate in the furrow, you're actually putting it in the correct time. That little seedling can gobble up a lot of nutrients in a short amount of time. That leads us right into the right source.
By applying that 100%, or not 100%, either 100%, 80%, just in general, high orthophosphate content, you're really giving that plant the right source because you aren't giving the environment time to take it. You're putting it right where the plant needs it, and it doesn't take that time for that polyphosphate to convert to a usable form. It's already there, and it's going to be taken up by the plant when you do use that right starter fertilizer.
The time and source, they go hand in hand together, just like the place and rate. If it lays out there too long, you can lose it. Just like the seed, if it lays out in the soil too long, you can have insects, birds, or fungi kind of destroy that seed. So the faster, the better.
A plethora of environmental factors do not want it to be where it needs to go. So we have to make sure we're good stewards of that, doing anything we can to put those nutrients where they need to be, ready to be uptaken by the plant as they need to. A couple of our starter fertilizers, just to give a plug of the ones that are available for you to use. We have the Season Pass, which is our flagship starter with zinc and sulfur. So those are some additional nutrients that are necessary during the growing season, especially early in the season. And then
Max, which is another starter our farm centers kind of have developed.
It's exclusive to our farm centers, so in Ohio, Indiana, and Michigan.
It's that's another one, but really we're limited by your imagination. We can make almost any analysis that you need. Of course, our 624-6 is very popular, and
918-9, 318-18.
Yeah,
like you said, it's limited by your imagination. So we have a giant portfolio of starter fertilizers fit for basically any situation.
And we have some nice kickers that we can add in there that are seed safe. If you want other micronutrients.
Or fulvic acids, which will...
Yeah, or carbon products that go hand in hand with starters. So
awesome. Well, thank you, Dave. That's all we have to talk about today. If you have any questions or would like any more information, reach out to your Andersons representative. You can find us at andersonsplantnutrient.com or find us on Facebook, which is Andersons Plant Nutrient Agriculture. Thank you.